So our best leaders, our most effective leaders, are examining the way they think and kind of the way they make sense of the world and the assumptions that they have behind their thinking. Like, the act of leadership is in part an act of facilitating with others. In part it's an act of coaching and mentoring and supervising colleagues, but it's also looking inward and seeing how you're making sense of the world and the assumptions that you hold. As a coach, one of the things I like to do is understand the fears and the worries that the leaders have. Because I know that the fears and the worries that limit the leader, they're also going to limit all the individuals that the person is leading. And so a way of getting to that is understanding what is a really difficult professional goal that someone has, that they've been trying and they haven't been able to accomplish. And so here are some common goals that leaders have. And so there's the leader who speaks too much, the leader who wants to control the meeting, the leader who sets the agenda. When someone says something, they interrupt, they disagree, they keep invoking what they think. It's kind of putting people in a cognitive headlock. They just keep championing their point of view. That's their perspective of what's going on. What's the fear that they have? Well, the fear is that if I'm not doing that, if I'm not advocating for my point of view, that I won't be heard. My fear is that actually I won't be seen as a leader anymore if I start to give up some control of the agenda, and then so maybe I'm not needed anymore. These sorts of worries, then, you can see how a leader may, on the one hand, want to speak up less and stop commanding the group, but on the other hand, they're going to keep doing it because they're afraid that they're not going to be seen as a leader. They're afraid that the point's not going to get across, and they're afraid that they're not going to be so effective. And so we start to zero in on that. So hold that for a moment. So then there's the leader who doesn't speak up. There's a leader who's in a meeting with a whole bunch of other colleagues, maybe other leaders, maybe some more senior leaders, and they don't feel safe speaking up. They don't feel like they know enough. They feel like this is not a comfortable situation, and what I'd like to be able to do is speak my mind when other people disagree, maybe when I don't know. What's the fear behind that? Oftentimes the fear may be, my fear is that I'm going to say something wrong and I'm going to alienate colleagues. My fear may be that I don't know enough in the moment. I need to have a whole bunch of information before I make a decision. The fear may be that I may say something wrong. And so you can see how on the one hand they want to speak up, but on the other hand they're limited because who wants any of these bad fears to happen? And then finally this kind of idea of the person who wants to delegate. And I think we all experience that. We work with someone who's micromanaging us. And I gotta tell you, as a coach, these individuals, oftentimes it's uncomfortable for them to micromanage. They'd like to not be like micromanagers. They'd like to be able to delegate, but there's fears and worries that hold them back. And so what's the fear of not micromanaging? My fear is that I'll be blamed for something that goes wrong because it should be on my watch. My fear is that I need to be in control of each of the parts because if it's not done in this exact way, it's not gonna be done correctly. And you can see how that sort of a fear then works against a person being able to release some control and to be able to develop leaders to do those sorts of skills. And so it's as if each of these leaders has a goal, wanting to speak less and command less, wanting to speak more and feel safe saying when people disagree, wanting to micromanage less. They have one foot on the gas pedal, and on the other hand, they have these fears that keep them from moving forward, and it's like they have another foot on the brake. It's in this space, this tension, where these assumptions that the leaders hold kind of come forward, and you can see how it might limit you as you're working with someone who is like that. I find it very helpful to look at the fears, the worries, the assumptions that individuals hold. And a process that I use is a process called immunity to change. And I learned this from Bob Keegan and Lisa Leahy, and they're out of Harvard. And they have a very good book called Immunity to Change that has really helped me to kind of identify these fears and worries in leaders and then how to work with them. And then as a leader, as I'm working with colleagues and I see people responding in meetings in certain ways, I understand that oftentimes their responses are also hidden behind similar sorts of fears and worries. These fears and worries are very much a part of us. These are things that limit our growth professionally, and as much as we understand them, they'll help us move forward and be more effective leaders, and they'll help our organizations move forward to be more successful.